Hope Channel, changing lives.
Hello, good evening, and welcome viewers back to the Consulting Room, coming live from the studios of Hope Channel Ghana. Thank you so much for making another date with us. The Consulting Room comes up every Monday from 8 to 9 p.m. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Dr. Na Ayikarko Inin. And my outfit for today is very intentional. In health circles, pink is for breast cancer awareness. And today we're going to be talking about just that. I know it's not October yet, but breast cancer is so important that any chance we get to talk about it, we should grasp it. So today we're going to be talking about breast cancer, and our topic for discussion is Living with a Purpose, My Journey with Breast Cancer. And unlike any other night where we talk about breast cancer in general, today we're going to be doing something very special, and I hope you stay tuned to know more about it. I'm itching to introduce my guest in the studio with me, but I'll just keep you in suspense for a while. We'll go for a quick commercial break, and when we get back, I'll do that. Please stay tuned.
Every individual has a story. Stories of social issues such as infertility.
You did not marry your wife only because she's going to give you a child. You married because you loved her. Whatever comes on your plate, you're ready to accept that.
Abuse, obesity, life struggles, and others can be very frustrating. That is why Real Talk is back again with another exciting season where individuals like you can come into our studio or join us virtually to share your story and experience. To share your story, you can reach us through our WhatsApp number at 0559 680 066, or you can email us at hopetvghana@gmail.com. We say don't lock them away. If you ignore them, they can just get angrier and louder.
Welcome back from the commercial break. As I said earlier, we have two special guests with us in the studio. With me, I have Dr. Salasi Dadi. She's a medical officer, and she's not new to us. We've seen her several times. Dr. Dadi, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. And then also, a very, very special person with us in the studio today is Yvonne Dunkley. Yvonne Dunkley is a breast cancer survivor. I'm sure we'll get to know more about her as she talks to us. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Right, thank you. So if you've been watching Consulting Room for a while, we've been talking about cancers. So I'm sure by now you know what cancer is. Cancer is when a group of cells in the body, a particular part of the body, is growing out of control, right? Simply. Today we're still going to learn about breast cancer, and Dr. Dadi is here to help us. She'll talk to us more about what breast cancer is, how we get it, how to prevent it, how to treat it, and all there is to know about it. So Dr. Dadi, you're welcome again.
Thank you once again for having me.
So breast cancer, is there anything that we can attribute to causing breast cancer?
Okay, so just like cancer of any other part of the body, breast cancer doesn't have a specific cause. However, there are certain risk factors that we have. So we group them into two main parts. So we have the non-modifiable risk factors. So those are things you can't do anything about. So they are risk factors that you know they exist, but there isn't much you can do about them. And then we have the modifiable risk factors. So those are the ones we can work to reduce and then reduce our risk of getting breast cancer. And one thing we should also note is that the fact that you have the risk factors doesn't mean you will get breast cancer, and the fact that you don't have the risk factors doesn't mean you wouldn't get breast cancer. So risk factors is not equivalent to breast cancer. So some of the risk factors we have, so for the non-modifiable risk factors, so we have gender, sex. So usually females get affected more than males. However, males get breast cancer too because they also have breast tissue, even though it's not as prominent as the ones females have. Then we have your age. So usually breast cancer occurs in older women, so age 40 and above. However, in recent times, a lot more younger people are getting breast cancer. We see breast cancer in patients who are less than 20 years old and things. In Ghana, the mean age for breast cancer is between the age of 40 to 49. However, it's changing. We are getting a lot more younger people presenting with breast cancer now. Then another risk factor we have is ethnicity, so where you come from. So research has shown that people with white backgrounds get breast cancer more than those from other races. That doesn't exclude the other races from getting breast cancer. Then another risk factor we have is early menarche. So menarche just simply means the age at which you start having your menses. So if you start having your menses before the age of 15, then you're at a higher risk of developing breast cancer. And then late menopause. So if you develop menopause at a later age, so we all know that menopause happens at a certain age, but for certain women, it takes longer for them to get to menopause. So if you get menopause above the age of 55, you're at a higher risk of developing breast cancer compared to someone who had it earlier. Then another thing is that we have certain people who have a gene mutation. So I'm sure a couple of us have heard about it, the BRCA gene. So if you test and you have positive receptors to BRCA1 and 2, then or if you have the mutation of BRCA1 and 2, then you're at risk of developing breast cancer. If you have any family member, any first degree relative. So first degree relative is someone who is just closely related to your mom's sisters, people like that. If any of them develops breast cancer, then you are also at risk of developing breast cancer. So as I initially stated, all the things I've stated, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Then we come to the modifiable risk factors. So the modifiable risk factors are the ones you can work on. So we have obesity, alcohol intake, smoking, we have parity. So it has been found out that women who have more children tend to have less risk of getting breast cancer. Then breastfeeding. So breastfeeding also sort of provides some sort of protective factor against breast cancer. And then the age at which you have your first full-term pregnancy. So it's advisable that for every female, you try to have your first full-term pregnancy before the age of 30. It's believed, research has shown that it's also reduces your risk of developing breast cancer. So basically speaking, these are the risk factors for breast cancer.
So when mentioning the risk factors, you mentioned early menarche, late menopause. Is there any reason for these being a risk factor for breast cancer?
So research has shown that breast cancer is sensitive to a certain hormone in females. So breast cancer is sensitive to estrogen. So it's believed that the longer you are exposed to estrogen, the more at risk of developing breast cancer you are. I forgot to mention this. Another risk factor that modifies the use of hormone replacement therapy. So usually when people become menopausal, their estrogen levels drop, and so they will take exogenous estrogen and then to help sort of balance their hormones out. So prolonged exposure to estrogen is believed to increase your risk of developing breast cancer. That's why if you start your menses very early and you get menopause late, you have a longer period within which your body is exposed to estrogen, and then that would increase your risk of getting breast cancer.
Okay. So are there some things that we would see in someone, a patient, that will make us think of the person probably having breast cancer?
Okay, so like any cancer, in the early stages of breast cancer, you really don't see anything. Some ladies are lucky, they'll feel a lump. Others are not as lucky. By the time they realize, it's really advanced. So usually for patients with breast cancer, you notice changes in the breast. So you notice changes in the skin of the breast. You realize that the skin has become swollen, it's become reddened. It has dimpling. It starts to look like the skin of an orange. So we call it pod orange. So it looks like the skin of an orange. So you notice your breast beginning to look just like an orange if you compare the two. Then you also have certain changes that happen with the nipple. So you can have rashes around the nipple areola complex, which is where your nipple is. So your nipple and then the dark area around it. Then you can have nipple inversion. So instead of your nipples pointing upwards, they turn inwards. You can have discharge from the nipples. Aside from that, so you can feel a lump, you can have ulcerations, so you can have sores on the breast. You would feel some lymph nodes if it's really advanced. Then you, sometimes the skin becomes hard and leathery. The one breast becomes obviously bigger than the other. I mean, normally one breast is bigger than the other, but you notice a change in the breast. If you compare it to the normal one, you realize that that breast doesn't look like the normal one. So those are some of the signs you see. Then if you come with very advanced disease, you come with other...
Before you get there, you mentioned lymph nodes. What do lymph nodes do, or where are they found?
So lymph nodes, simply put, they are sort of they sort of clean the body. I mean, in layman's terms. So when we have as our body, blood moves through our body up and down, we have lymph. So the lymph nodes sort of drain the substances that are found in the blood. They also act as an immune component that can also help with protecting against disease, reacting to diseases and things like that. So in any infection, usually you notice that your lymph nodes become bigger. So similarly in breast cancer, because there's some infective process going on, your lymph nodes would become enlarged, and then that's
so you mentioned the different changes in the breast. So obviously you should know what your normal breast looks like, right, to be able to detect any changes. And then also you mentioned that a lump is one of the earliest signs you might pick up. So how do I pick up a lump in my breast?
Okay, so I'm sure most of us have heard about this. So the first thing is you have to start engaging in self-breast examination. So anytime you think about breast cancer, the first thing you should think about is self-breast examination. So you have to know what the normal is so that you'll be able to know what the abnormal is. So for any girl above the age of 20 years, you have to do self-breast examination at least once every month. So you stand in front of a mirror, you put both hands by your side, you look. So you're looking out for the things I mentioned. So you're looking to see if there's any change in the skin, any change at the nipples, so anything you notice that's abnormal in when you look. And then after looking with your arms down, then you lift your hands up. So usually you put them behind your head. And then you look at the breast again. This time you are looking for any dimpling. So if there's an obvious lump, you start to see it on the surface of the skin. And all that. So after doing that, then now you have to feel. So you might have seen something. And now you need to feel and see what exactly, like to get better understanding of what it is that you've seen. So you put your hands down again, and then you can lie down, you can sit in a chair or something. Then you use the parts of your finger. So the parts of your fingers, so you use the first 3 fingers, and then so you press against the breast. You do it has to be a light medium pressure. It has to be firm, and then you do it in a circular motion. And so as you are examining your breast, you go up and down, and you don't lift your hand up at any point in time, so it's sort of like a smooth motion.
So you don't miss the lump.
So you don't miss the lump, exactly. So and then as you are doing it, so ideally it's best to divide your breast into 4 parts, so that you can do a more focused examination of each quadrant. And then after all that, you go up to your the area where your collarbone is, and then you go into your armpit to see. So in your armpit, you are looking for what I mentioned, the lymph nodes. So the lymph nodes to feel like a ball in those areas, and it's a little firm, hard. So you have to, so you do that for the left breast, you do that for the right breast, and so you do it every month. So on the day you notice something, you have to quickly rush to the hospital to get a health professional to examine it for you. So that's the self-breast examination. So aside from that, for girls between the age of 20 to 40 years old, at least once every 3 years, you have to go to a hospital and let a health professional examine your breasts for you. And then for those about the age of 40, they go once every year for your breast to be examined.
You can just walk in and then
you can just you can just walk in and ask that you want to do a breast examination.
So apart from doing a self-breast exam or letting a health professional examine your breast, are there other ways to pick up a lump or say any other signs of breast cancer?
Yes, so there are other ways. So we have the radiological examinations. So we have the mammogram, which I'm sure a lot of people know about, and then we have ultrasounds. So ultrasound is used for people below the age of 30. And then mammograms are used for those above the age of 30 years. So the mammogram is similar to an X-ray, and then the ultrasound is similar to the ultrasound you do when you're pregnant. So like the scan you do, and then depending on how advanced the disease is, you may need to do further examinations. So you may need to do an MRI and other things just to see the extent of the disease. Then for those who have an obvious lump, then we can do pathological assessments. So you can just take a small portion of the lump and then take it to the lab for them to examine and see if there's any cancerous tissues in the specimen they've taken. And then also sometimes they might decide to excise the entire lump, and then you take that to the lab and then they would run tests on it to see what exactly it is.
So after a biopsy is done, we've noticed that it's cancerous. What options are available to me?
So once a biopsy is done and it's noted that it's cancerous, so there are 3 main things that are done for you. So there's a surgery. So a surgery has to be done. So the surgery involves, depending on how advanced the disease is, they might need to take off your whole breast, or they will just take, they'll do a wide local excision. So it's, what that means is that where the lump is, they will take out the lump and they'll take out surrounding tissue, so tissue that's around the lump. So they don't just take out the lump, they take out the tissue that's around the lump. So, but it's very dependent on how advanced your disease is. So if it's really advanced, then they'll take off the whole breast. So then after the surgery is done, then we have another portion, which is the chemotherapy. So chemotherapy is just a couple of drugs that have been researched and found to be able to attack the cancer cells. So you go for regular chemotherapy, a certain number depending on your disease, and then that's another way. Then we also have the radiotherapy. So that one, you go for them to use radio waves to sort of lyse the cancer tissue. And then another thing to, as I mentioned earlier on, breast cancer also has a hormonal component. So sometimes we can use hormonal drugs to target the cancerous tissues and then sort of break them down. So these are the options open to you if it's detected that you have cancer of the breast.
Thank you so much for the education. There's a question before we go to Yvonne, and someone wants to know, you mentioned BRCA1 and 2. So the person's asking, what is BRCA1 and BRCA2? It was found that for people who developed breast cancer,
a research was done, and it was found that they had a certain mutation in the BRCA. So the BRCA is just a gene. Okay. It's a gene that's found in the body. So we have the 1 and 2. And it was found that the BRCA1 and BRCA2, there was a mutation that sort of predisposed people to not just breast cancer, but ovarian cancer as well. So there are tests where people are able, you can go to the hospital and ask to be tested for your BRCA. Okay. And then depending on what your BRCA gene is, you can decide. So I'm sure a lot of us have heard about Angelina Jolie. So she went and got the BRCA testing done, realized that she had the mutation. Her mom had breast cancer, and so she decided to do what we call a prophylactic mastectomy. Okay. So she took off both breasts even before the cancer developed. Okay. So that's why.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for the explanation. So as the conversation goes on, if you have any question or comment, you can send it to us via our social media platforms on Facebook or YouTube, or also on our WhatsApp number. So I'll come to Madam Yvonne now. Thank you again for joining us. I believe this is very emotional for you. So thank you for putting yourself out there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So who is Yvonne Dunkley?
Yvonne Dunkley, a mother of 4, an author, someone who have experienced an rough ordeal and do not describe herself as a victim. I am a victor, and I try to see everything from the eyes of God, so that I can put things into perspective and live a healthy life.
Yeah, right. So we know you have a story to tell us. I'm sure my viewers are very eager to hear it. So if you don't mind sharing your story with us.
As the doctor said, at the age of 40 is when women are advised to do their mammogram. But for me, at the age of 35, I started my mammogram because I have one of those dense breasts where when you feel your breast, you feel a lot of lumps. And so I was advised by the doctor at age 35 to start my mammogram so that we do not miss anything. And at the age of 45, 2008, when the economy went down in the United States, I attribute my breast cancer to that ordeal that I went through. I am a realtor by profession, and it was the real estate that brought down the economy.
Madam Yvonne, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. But if we can go for a quick commercial break now, we'll get back to the story. Just a quick commercial break. Yeah.
Every individual has a story. Stories of social issues such as infertility.
You did not marry your wife only because she's going to give you a child. You married because you loved her. Whatever comes on your plate, you're ready to accept that.
Abuse, obesity, life struggles, and others can be very frustrating. That is why Real Talk is back again with another exciting season where individuals like you can come into our studio or join us virtually to share your story and experience. To share your story, you can reach us through our WhatsApp number at 0559 680 066, or you can email us at hoptvghana@gmail.com. We say don't lock them away. If you ignore them, they can just get angrier and louder.
We learn a lot as we journey through life. Our teachers might be family, neighbors, or even colleagues. But it can be difficult to find a mentor who truly understands our heart, our dreams, our goals. Someone who can help us overcome our deepest challenges. The Bible reveals that God wants to be your closest mentor, teacher, and friend. At Hope Channel, we can help you find freedom, healing, and hope in Jesus, and the wisdom in His Word, the Bible. We pray that the courses at Hope Study will help you find answers to your deepest questions. Let's walk together toward a deeper experience of wisdom and joy.
Hello, my cherished viewers. You are welcome to the program Soldier of the Cross. God is always faithful, and therefore be faithful even when you feel like God is not faithful. We are beginning a new series which we have captioned, Hear, O ye child of the Lord. And all these sermons will get you connected to God. There's going to be a broadening of your knowledge, a deepening knowledge about God. And in the end, you are going to be a blessing generator. A blessing generator to yourself and to others. I'll rather challenge you that choose faith over worry. Until then, until I come your way, until we meet on that day, stay blessed and be blessed. God richly bless you. Ahua.
Soldier of the Cross, showing this and every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back from the commercial break. Before we left for the commercial break, Madam Yvonne Dankwi was telling us on how she beat breast cancer, and we'll continue with that story now.
So I went through a great ordeal the year when the economy went down in the United States, and I found myself on the other side of the economy going down. I had my home that I lived in was on the step of the courthouse to be auctioned because there wasn't any money to pay for the mortgage. My children, my daughter was in med school. I had to pull her from there. My cars were repoing. Just a great ordeal that was happening at unexpected. And so I tried to reinvent myself, saying I would go back to school and do nursing, something that I'm not medical. I do not like to see blood, so at the sight of blood I'll just faint. But at that time, the crisis that I found myself, not just me alone, but the whole America, I did not want to fall short, and so I went back to school and trying to do classes, doubling up on the classes in order to do all my prereqs to get into the nursing program. And with all that stress that was going on in my life, at the end of the school year, a month before, and I was sure I was getting into class because I did everything. I wake up early in the morning. I'm at the maths lab at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I'm getting my kids off to school. And so a month before the school year, I felt something sticking me in my breast. And so I called my sister-in-law and asked her, I told her that my breast not feeling right, and she said I should stop using deodorant because aluminum is in most of the deodorant and it clogged the pores. And so I stopped, and it was still hurting. And she asked me, when last have you done your mammogram? And so I told her I did it 12 months ago. It's about time for me to go and do it now. So I called up the hospital, made the appointment, and I went in to do my mammogram. Usually they ask you to take your clothes off. They would put your breast between the two plates. And when I looked at the technician, the facial expression was changing. And so I asked her what was wrong, and she told me that I should put my clothes back on, sit outside, and wait for the radiologist to speak with me. And when I got down from there, I already told myself I have breast cancer. I've done it 10 years, the past 10 years, never experienced something like this, and I felt crippled inside. And so I got out there and I sat on the waiting room, and everybody came in and everybody did their mammogram, and they went, and I'm sitting there sweating, the palm of my hand, my face. I have an anxiety attack. And so I went in and I spoke with the radiologist, and she told me that they found calcification in my breast, and that's the hardening of the tissue. And so she said I need to do a biopsy. It was Friday evening that day, and it was about 2 o'clock. So I asked her if I could do the biopsy right there and then, and she told me no, because the appointment, they didn't have any appointment. I should come back on Monday. When she told me that, I said to her, it's not the cancer going to kill me. It is the stress of living in those, passing those 2 days. And so I pulled myself together, got up, went downstairs, and got in my vehicle, and I was just crying. And it's not like that kind of crying is not like when someone you have a hurt, like someone hit you and you feel that pain. It was not like that. The tears was just flowing, and I had no control over it. And I tried to pray. I am a Seventh-day Adventist. I went to the high school, I went to the college, and that's what we were taught. I started to pray, but the prayer wasn't working. My whole being was just taken over with fear. And at the sight of hearing those words, I equated to death. And so I pulled myself together as much as I could, and on my way home, all I could hear in my head was, you have breast cancer, you're going to die. And I remember halfway home, I just started to scream out, and I was just screaming for God. It's like, where are you? Where are you? I need you now. And I remember just hearing that memory verse, Isaiah 41:10, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will hold you up with the right hand of my righteousness. And I started to just recite it, and the more I recited, I became lighter until I reached home. I told my family, and everybody got hysterical, and I tried to calm them down as much as possible. I went upstairs after calming them, and I started to pray. And my prayer was, Lord, could you just let Sabbath disappear and Sunday disappear so that Monday could just come? I did not want to live through the weekend. But every second was like an hour, and every hour was like a month, and every month was like a year, tortured. And Monday morning early, I went back, did the biopsy, and about a week after, or probably less, they called me in and told me I have breast cancer. Well, when I looked at her, I started to look behind me to wonder if it was me, Yvonne, she was saying had breast cancer, because I could not associate myself with breast cancer. Breast cancer is far-fetched to me. Breast cancer is the other people that have it, but who are the other people? It's us, sadly to say. I was told that I asked her what the course of treatment was. She said they'll have to do a mastectomy. And I asked her what was that, because I knew nothing in the science arena, cancer arena. And so she told me they will have to remove my breasts. When she told me that, I looked at her and I said, remove my breasts? She said yes. I said, I waited too long to have those breasts. That is what defined me as a woman. In my class, everybody was busted, and mine could not come. And now you want to take my breast off? So what she told me is that I can keep it, but do know that it will kill you. And after she said that, I hopped to take my breast off. They did see, they did the lymph nodes that she was, the doctor was talking about. They took out 19 lymph nodes and 15 had cancer.
Wow.
I was now in stage 3, going on to 4. And I saw death in front of me. I saw my children without a mom. My whole world, it was as if, and this is how I believe most of us who do not know anything about cancer describe it. We describe it bigger than God, because when we hear of cancer, the fear that it that comes over you, you do not have that fear if somebody tell you about God. You smile and you said, yes, I need to live nearer to God, but the fear is so thick that it mentally it tears you down. And so also after I was finished, they did 6 rounds of chemo with 3 different drugs and 35 sessions of radiation. That was living tortured. After I was finished with the course of treatment, my head was bald. My nails were black. I had my left side, I had neuropathy, that's nerve pain. And so I could not stand on my right leg. I had to use a cane to walk. But most of all, what got me until this day I struggle with is my memory. At that time when after chemo and treatment, I couldn't spell my name. I was back in kindergarten learning to spell my name. And it took everything, everything that I defined myself as, it took it away. My self-esteem went down. Mentally, I keep wondering, what is wrong? What is going on? What do I need to do? I needed a fast fix. And when I look back now, I see how people really do drugs or those kind of drugs that things that we should not do, but because not facing the reality of their situation can bring you down. But one of the things that I did tell myself was that I know God. I knew He was with me. I just couldn't feel Him. I just couldn't find Him. And in everything that I was going through, I was able to pull myself. And the funniest thing about this was, I couldn't, if I want to spell the word was, I had to mentally drag my memory to remember that it is W. And I need to write W, and I would, it was just an ordeal. And this is why I am very, very passionate about what I do, because while I was going through it, one of the things that I told myself, I reached out to God and I told Him if He healed me, I would use the rest of my life to educate, empower women especially. And out of all my ordeal, a charity was born called Feed the Fight Breast Cancer Awareness. I go global, I go different countries, and I talk about breast cancer. And usually I would probably spend like 4 or 6 months in the country, and then I would do an outreach program. And the outreach program would consist of doing mammograms, pap smear, and prostate screening for men. Someone asked me, why prostate screening? I remember the first year I went to Jamaica. It was it was the second place I went to do the program, and I was sitting in the church, and after I was finished talking about my ordeal, a gentleman stood up and said, I noticed you haven't spoken anything about prostate screening. I am a prostate victim. I do have prostate cancer. And from then I try to learn and educate myself as much as possible. I do not know a lot about it, but I can encourage you to do your prostate screening if you are 40 and over. And so I incorporated into the ministry. I also, during the time when I have a difficult time with my memory, I usually stay home and I would draw the words as if I was in kindergarten, as I said before. And I remember a friend of mine came and she saw all these papers around me with pencil, and she asked me, "Are you in kindergarten? What do you have all these papers around you?" And I told her, "Yes, I think I'm in kindergarten." I said, "I cannot spell my name." And she's a doctor, and that was when she said to me, "Oh, that is what they call chemo brain. I've never seen anyone who had it." And I said, "To anything that is bad, I will have to get that." And so she told me I should continue writing. And I didn't know psychologically what she was trying to do, but it pushes me that every day I look forward to get up to write, because I did not want to be in the state that I was. I kept writing and writing and writing, and she would come and she would say, "And so I would like you to write a page stating your feeling, just your feeling. You don't have to write English. If you have to draw the words, draw it." Because in the end, I needed to type it on the computer. And so I would do that. And in the end, probably about 4 months after, she came to me and she said, "You're going to write a book." I said, "Write a book? I don't even have my memory. I'm going to write a book?" And she said, "Yes." And she every day, every week, she would come and visit me, and she would give me a topic. And when she comes back, she would say, "Oh, you need to write more." And what she was doing was to jog my memory. But at that time, I was so into myself, saying, I can't. But that was what she was doing. And I realized after. We wrote a book called, well, she doesn't like any part and share of the book, because she said that the ordeal that I went through and what she saw happen to me, she have gained so much strength from me, the way I try to pull myself from my situation, my misfortune. The name of the book is The name of the book is Smiling Through Breast Cancer. It's on Amazon, and one of the reasons why I use the word smiling is I needed to put a positive connotation on cancer, because when we hear the word cancer, it is negative, and it brings fear. And so I want us to see cancer as if you have high blood pressure or you have diabetes. And this is my campaign for us to see cancer as just what it is, a disease. I went to Jamaica in the second time I did the program, and I found myself in the churches, the corporations, on the street, in this craft market, anywhere there was a human being, and they were over 40, I was there telling them, "Have you done your mammogram? Have you done your prostate screening?" That's how I was driven. That's how I was. And so I started to do breast cancer awareness, and if I go in a country, as I said, I would spend 6 months, and then after we would do the outreach program. I found myself in London. There's a story behind that. I know we don't have enough time. But when I went to London, I went to a small church. Someone told me about a small church. I went, and after I was finished, they told me that my story need to be told. And most of the churches in London, they're small. Just probably about 30% of them are large. And so they told me about this church called Brixton, and I should go there. And there was a pastor named Pastor Ebenezer Jones Larty. They gave me the number, I called him, and I went. And he gave me the opportunity to do a weekend in London, do midday service, do in the evening we did I talk about some of the stuff that you spoke about, signs and symptoms, and then the following day we did a breast cancer walk. Now from then, whenever I do a program, I always incorporate a breast cancer walk. After finishing Brixton, Pastor Lottie invited me to go to Ghana because the program that I did it in Jamaica, and he came with us. That was his first time coming to Jamaica, and a lot of the people from England, they came with us, so we had a big outreach program. He invited me to come to Ghana the March, and COVID came in the February, so that was the end of that. In March of this year, Pastor Lottie called me again, and he asked me if I could do a program at his church, and I told him yes. No, he texted me, and I just texted and said yes. And about a month after, he texted me and he sent me a schedule stating that I'm going to do a 10 days crusade. And I text back and he said, you got the wrong person. So long story short, I went to a church called London, Ghana in London doing a 10-day crusade. When I was finished, as I said before COVID, I was supposed to come to London, but I guess it was not the right time. This time is the right time. I did the crusade, and when I was finished, I told them that I would love to go to London, and there is a doctor there called Kaja Denzi Amankwa. I hope I pronounced his name properly. Amankwa. Yes. And he told me he has a program that they do in Ghana called Project Ghana, and we should come together and do a program. And I take up the mantle, and here I am in Ghana. Last week I was in Kumasi. As a matter of fact, when he told me to come to Ghana, and I Googled to try to get airfare, the only name I was seeing was Accra. So when I spoke with him, I told him, yes, I am coming to Accra to do the program. And he said to me, if you come to Ghana and do not come to Kumasi, he didn't reach Ghana as yet. And so that was one of the reasons. So now I decided that I would do 2 outreach programs, one in Kumasi and one in Accra. For the moment, I come to survey the land like Caleb, and it is successful. Everyone I meet, very nice. I had your food, Bonko and okra, and I Facebook it, and my friends are watching me through Ghana, and I enjoy it. I love it. The people are warm, and we are looking forward to be here in September 27, October 8. We will be having a team of people, volunteers. We'll be having a breast surgeon. We'll be having a gynecologist. We'll be having eye doctor, different chiropractor, different doctors that will be coming in. And I need to tap into the resource that is here in Ghana. I made a contact with the union, both unions, and because I need them to promote the program where we would have we would love all, if possible, of the medical personnel to come on board when we do come. Because the more doctors and people and we have volunteering, the more people we can impact. And one of the things that I see I'm just here for probably, I came in last Sunday, so it's a Sunday ago, 2 Sundays ago. And one of the things that I saw is the disparity in economical. Well, just what I saw from my face value is that you probably have 2 classes of people, the rich and the poor, and the poor is very large. And for me, those are the people I need to reach. I believe the Lord allowed me to have a ministry to help the less fortunate persons, and this is what I would like to do with the rest of my life, to reach, to empower, to hold someone's hand. During during my ordeal, I also adopted a hospital in Jamaica where I adopted the oncology and the radiology department. So I go there twice. As a matter of fact, this morning I had to send money to Jamaica for them to, because we cook, it so happened that the hospital is beside the school I went, the Adventist school, Harrison Memorial High School, and so they gave us their omic lab so that we can cook. So we make breakfast, we take it to the oncology, to the department, we pray with them. As a matter of fact, there was a lady that I started to work with, and they had a crusade, and she called me. She said, I have to give my life to Christ. And she invited me. She finished her course of chemo that she had stopped and didn't want to finish. She was able to finish. She got baptized. Initially, it was just she alone. When she went up to get baptized, her sister in the congregation joined her. By the time they reached the river to get baptized, her brother joined her. So 3 of them got baptized. So I know that God has given me something that is very unique. I do not like to be in the medical arena, but yet He gave me something that is in the medical arena. But it's not necessarily the medical part that I strive on. It is holding someone's hand, because mentally I know if they are diagnosed what they will be going through, and I can able to hold their hand, encourage them. Since I've been to church here, this is my second Sabbath, and I already got calls of people who just starting chemo and just need someone to interact with. I guess they feel much, when you see someone that goes through something and they conquer it and living happily, I guess they want to identify with that so that they too can go through their trial and give God all the glory. I attribute all the joy that I am feeling and I'm living, I attribute to giving God all the thanks, because I could not do it without Him.
Thank you so much for sharing the story with us. I'm sure you've made an impact on everyone who's listened to you, and thank you again for sharing the story with us. And there are so many other questions I would have loved to ask you. We don't have much time though, but for your outreach in September and October, where is that going to happen?
Okay, so in Kumasi we will be going to Kwadasa.
Okay.
Kwadasa Seventh-day Adventist Church, that's where we will be doing it. And here in Accra, we'll be doing it at Labani High School.
Okay, the high school.
Labani, the Adventist school.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it has
Adventist
yes,
school,
the Labani Seventh-day Adventist School.
Okay.
We also would like to do a breast cancer walk, and so all the information will be coming down so that we all can be a part of it in impacting others' life.
Sure. Thank you so much. And then you mentioned your Feed the Fight campaign, organizing different screenings. How do you fund that?
That's a good question. After talking to several persons here, what they said is that whenever a foreigner comes in, Ghanaians expect them to come with the money. But I'm telling you, I'm not coming with the money, because there's money right here. We need to tap into the money here and help the poor. And so I will be taking in what we have, which I believe we need far more than what we have, because I'm realizing that in terms of the mammogram, is not accessible to the poor. And so you'll find a vast percentage of the poor that is going through, because one of the things, I believe the doctor spoke about it, but I want to bring it across. I spoke with the surgeon at the hospital, and one of the things he said is that most of the persons that come in that have breast cancer, they actually feel that small lump, but they totally ignore it, whether they think it's going to go away or something. But it is when it manifests itself and become big, that's when they will come in. But that's the wrong time to come in. Whenever you feel, doesn't matter how small it is, you need to see a doctor, because cancer grows. If we could only tell ourselves that. And also at the beginning stage of cancer, you feel absolutely no pain. So when you start to feel pain is when most of the time it is too late. Do I have another second?
Yeah, you want to say something? Yeah.
So at stage 1, if it is caught at stage 1, you have 98% can live to your lifespan. And if it caught at stage 2, you have 82%. Do you want to explain a little bit about the stages? Because it is important, because someone may say one person has cancer and they do something else, so do that. We do not know what stage it was caught, so you cannot use someone's experience to work with, right, Doc?
Yes, please. Okay, so as she was saying, so cancer is generally grouped into 4 stages. Stage 1 is the earliest stage, where it's just a small cancer. It's localized to the particular tissue that is involved. So for breast cancer, it's just in the breast. So it's just, there are various, so in stage 1, there are subclasses. So the subclasses depend on the size and then the extent of that. Then we have stage 2, which is a little more advanced than stage 1. Then we have stage 3, and then we have stage 4. So stage 4 is the worst. So stage 4 is when now it has spread from just the breast to other organs in the body. So it's gone from the breast to the brain, to the bones, to the liver, and things like that. Stage 3, it's spread all right, but it hasn't gone to distant organs. Yeah. And then in stage 2, it's spread, but not as bad as in stage 3. So depending on what stage of cancer you have, your treatment options differ. Because as I said, the more the cancer is spread, there isn't really much that can be done for you, because we can't go and say, oh, we are going to the breast, we are going to the liver, we are going to the bone, we are going to the brain, we are going to the lungs. By the time we are done with everything, there'll be nothing left in your body. So as she was saying, cancer is best caught at the early stage. So if your self-breast examinations are very important, so every month make it a habit to stand in front of your mirror and examine your breast. Anything you feel, no matter how trivial you think it is, just rush to the hospital and get a health worker to confirm it. It might not be a cancer, it might be a benign mass, but I mean, it's better to err on the side of caution. You don't sit at home and say, oh, it's just small, it will go, it's just one of those things, no. So whatever it is that you feel, come to the hospital and get it checked out, and then the earlier we get it, as she said, you have a good survival rate. Because then we've got it at a very early stage.
The question you asked about funds. So another way that, one of the things that we are looking into is to have a gala, a breast cancer gala, in order to raise funds so that we can able to, those people who probably need to do a sonogram or an ultrasound, because even if you find the money to do the mammogram, and normally if they find any kind of shadowing inside that breast, they're going to recommend for you to do an ultrasound or a sonogram. And so we would like to have some funds over apart from just doing the mammogram, so that those persons who have to go back for follow-up, we can may not able to give them all that they need, but anything will help. And so we will need the help of everyone on this project, and we can save life, because mammogram screening, pap smear screening, and prostate screening save lives if it is done early.
Thank you so much. We're out of time, but there are just a few comments and questions I'll just read out. And so someone says, God bless Yvonne for the bravery to share her life story with us. I pray more women do this to help others. And also thank you, Dr. Dadi, for always being available to educate us. And then also, hello, is there any financial help from them, I guess from your initiative, or for any Adventist who has cancer but doesn't have money for the chemo?
I noticed you said Adventist. I do not do Adventist, I do people, because there's no discrimination when it comes on to cancer. So I do Adventist, Sunday church, whichever church you go, I do everyone. So by us doing the gala and I'm going back to try to fundraise in Atlanta. We are hoping that we can reach as many persons as possible. I spoke with the union, and they told me they will work with me. So any other person that's out there maybe looking on and watching the show and want to be a part of it in terms of finance, we are going to need money in order to do the mammogram, the sonogram, the ultrasound. The pap smear needs to be, even though we're going to have nurses, I'm not sure if it's a doctor that does it here, but in the States, you have to be a gynecologist in order to do it. Yeah. But I think in Jamaica, it's the midwives that does it. Who does it here?
It depends on which facility you go to.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
The nurse,
so
a trained nurse.
We will be doing the physical part of it, but after we're going to have to take them to the samples to a lab, and so we'll have to. That's going to occur another cost. So we need help, and if you do have a little postura way, we can all use it to help someone who is in need.
Yeah, definitely. And last one, someone is asking about people in Eastern region. It's one of the regions in Ghana. They want you to come to Insawam. Yeah.
Well, I was talking to Pastor Marfo in Kumasi, and one of the things suggested was if one of the blessing, and I use the word blessing, and people always ask me, how do you associate blessing with cancer? One of the blessing for me, because of cancer, I was retired at age 45. And so this gives me the opportunity to go out there and do the ministry. And so I am available, and it's something that we haven't spoke about at length or anything, but it's open, so that when we finish Kumasi and Accra, if they would like me to go to different parts of Ghana, I don't know Ghana, yes, I would love to come there and do breast cancer awareness, if you would have me.
All right, thank you, Dr. Daddy. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you so much for sharing this story with us. I've learned so much, and I'm sure everyone else who has heard you speak. And I believe you're going to be doing much more of this other places too, right?
Yes, this Sabbath I will be at Anson Road, Seventh-day Adventist Church, Prince Emmanuel, and Bethel SDA Church.
Yeah, sure. So thank you again all so much. And unfortunately, we've come to the end of our program. And as we've said several times, early detection saves lives. So let's spread the word, let's get screened and protect ourselves. Thank you all so much for listening, and have a good night.